Back at New Seoul, the mood had changed. People walked taller, spoke louder. The victory at Yoruba, small as it was, had given them something they had almost forgotten: pride. In the medical bay, Dr. Ji-hyun Ryu sat on the edge of a bed. She was thin, with dark circles under her eyes, but her gaze was sharp and clear. Taeho sat across from her, waiting for her to speak. "I was captured 2 years ago," she finally said. "My research ship was studying Jupiter's moons when the Kravath found us. They killed most of the crew, but kept some of us alive." "The scientists. Why?" Taeho asked. Ji-hyun's hands tightened into fists. "They wanted to know more about us. How we work, what kills us." She looked up at Taeho. "But while they studied us, I studied them too." This was what Taeho had hoped for. Information. A weakness they could use. "Tell me everything," he said. Ji-hyun did. She explained how the Kravath were not flesh like humans, but something like living rock. Their bodies were made of silicon instead of carbon. They breathed different air, ate different food. "But most importantly," she said, leaning forward, "they have a weakness." Ji-hyun had noticed that when the Kravath used certain equipment, they wore special suits. Eventually, she realized why. Their silicon bodies were sensitive to a particular type of radiation. "It disrupts their neural pathways," she explained. "Basically, it scrambles their brains, not enough to kill them, but enough to stun them, confuse them." Taeho called for Han-jun. When the engineer arrived, Ji-hyun explained her discovery again. Han-jun's eyes lit up with understanding. "We could create a weapon," he said. "Something that emits this specific radiation, not just to break their shields, but to hurt the Kravath themselves." Over the next few days, Han-jun and Ji-hyun worked together. They barely slept, driven by the possibility of a true advantage against their enemy. Other scientists and engineers joined them, eager to help. Taeho let them work while he and Do-hyun questioned the Kravath prisoner. At first, the alien refused to speak, but as days passed, it became clear that humans were not the weak creatures it had believed them to be. "Why did you destroy Earth?" Taeho asked for the 10th time. The Kravath's red eyes stared at him. "You were a threat. Your technology was advancing too quickly. In 100 years, you would have been stronger than us. So you killed billions because of what might happen." Do-hyun's voice shook with anger. "It was decided," the Kravath said, "by the Emperor." This was new information. They had not known the Kravath had an emperor. "Tell us about this emperor," Taeho demanded. Before the prisoner could answer, an alarm sounded. Taeho rushed to the command center. There, a communications officer waved him over. "Sir, we intercepted a Kravath transmission," she said. "It was encrypted, but we broke the code." On the screen, Kravath symbols flashed, translated by their computers. "It says the Emperor is planning to inspect their new weapon," the officer explained. "Something called a star killer. It will be in Saturn's orbit in 15 days. Taeho's mind raced. The leader of the species that had destroyed Earth would be relatively close by, with only normal protection. It was an opportunity they couldn't ignore. Han-jun burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement. "We did it," he shouted. "We've created a prototype. Ji-hyun is calling it Earthlight." He held up a small device that glowed with a soft blue light. "It works?" Taeho asked. "In tests, yes. It affects Kravath tissue samples exactly as Ji-hyun predicted. It should disrupt their neural functions for several minutes, long enough to give us an advantage in combat." Taeho looked from the device to the message on the screen. A plan began to form in his mind. "How many of these can you make in 2 weeks?" he asked. Han-jun thought for a moment. "Maybe 20, but they're not ready for full deployment." "Make them ready," Taeho ordered. He turned to the gathered officers. "Call the council together. We have a new mission to plan." Do-hyun studied his face. "What are you thinking?" Taeho looked at the intercepted message again. I'm thinking it's time to meet the Kravath Emperor. Throughout New Seoul, the news spread quickly. A chance to strike at the heart of the enemy. A weapon that might give them a real advantage. And a mission that, if successful, could change everything. They called it Vengeance Dawn. Taeho ran through the hallways of the Kravath flagship, clutching the control codes he had taken from Sungmin. All around him, confusion reigned. The Earth-like devices were working better than anyone had hoped. Kravath soldiers stumbled and fell, unable to coordinate their movements or think clearly. Ji-hyun, can you hear me? Taeho called into his communicator. Her voice came back, broken by static. Barely. What's happening? I have the codes, but there's something you need to know. The Emperor is human. It's Sung Min Kang from Earth's Defense Council. Silence followed his words. Then, that's impossible. It's true. He betrayed us. Taeho turned a corner and found himself face to face with 3 Kravath soldiers. They moved slowly, affected by the Earthlight radiation. He slipped past them easily. I'm heading to the communication center. According to their plan, Taeho needed to reach the ship's main communication array. From there, with the control codes, he could send the Earthlight frequency to every Kravath ship in the system. He took a different route than planned, avoiding the path where Du-Yun had made her stand. He couldn't bear to see her body. Not yet. There would be time for grief later. The communication center was empty when he arrived. The Kravath operators had fled, seeking relief from the Earthlight effects. Taeho sat at the alien controls and plugged in the device Han-Jun had given him, a translator for Kravath technology. On at the controls, he told Ji-hyun. Talk me through this. With her guidance, he began inputting the control codes. The Kravath system recognized Sungmin's authority and opened access to the communication network. Taeho uploaded the Earthlight frequency pattern, ready to broadcast it to every Kravath ship. Before he could complete the final step, the door slid open. Sungmin stood there, leaning against the wall for support. Parts of his body sparked and smoked where the Kravath technology was failing. Stop, Sungmin ordered. You don't understand what you're doing. Taeho raised his weapon. I understand perfectly. I'm fighting for humanity's survival. You're fighting for humanity's damnation. Sungmin stepped forward, his movements jerky but determined. The future, I saw, was a lie. Taeho cut him off. The Kravath showed you what they wanted you to see. Sungmin lunged suddenly, moving faster than Taeho expected. The former Earth leader had been enhanced with Kravath technology, making him stronger than a normal human. His mechanical hand closed around Taeho's throat. I made the hard choice, Sungmin hissed. I sacrificed billions to save trillions. What have you sacrificed? Taeho couldn't speak with the grip on his throat. Instead, he thought of Earth, of his family, of Du-Yun, who had just given her life so he could reach this point. His anger gave him strength. He broke free of Sungmin's grip and struck back. The 2 men fought in the small control room, human against human-machine hybrid. Sungmin was stronger, but Taeho fought with the fury of someone who had lost everything. A hard blow sent Taeho crashing into the control panel. Pain shot through his back, but he forced himself to stand. Sungmin approached, confident in his enhanced strength. It's not too late, Sungmin said. Join me. Help guide humanity to a better future, a controlled future. We make our own future, Taeho replied. He pressed a button on his belt. The final Earthlight device, hidden in his uniform, activated at full power. Sungmin screamed as the radiation overloaded the Kravath technology in his body. He fell to his knees, systems failing. Taeho turned back to the controls. With a single command, he sent the Earthlight frequency pattern to every Kravath ship in the solar system. The effect was immediate. On the communication screen, he could see dozens of Kravath ships suddenly lose power or begin drifting. Some collided with each other. Others fired weapons at random, hitting their own vessels. It's working. Jai-Hen's voice came through the communicator. All Kravath ships are reporting system failures. Their crews are incapacitated. From his position on the floor, Sung Min laughed weakly. You've won a battle. But the Kravath Empire spans galaxies. They will come. They will destroy what remains of humanity. Tai-Ho looked down at the man who had betrayed Earth. Then we'll be ready for them. He pressed another button on the control panel, sending a signal to the waiting human fleet. It was time for the second phase of Vengeance Dawn, the attack. As the human ships emerged from hiding and began their assault on the paralyzed Kravath fleet, Tai-Ho stood at the window of the flagship. For the first time since Earth died, humanity was winning. The tide had turned. Europa's surface gleamed like polished glass under Jupiter's glow. The ice moon had once been a place of wonder for human scientists. Now it was just another resource for the Kravath to use. Tai-Ho's ship approached silently, engines off, drifting toward the mining facility. Behind him came 20 more vessels, each dark and quiet. They had painted the ships black to blend with space. Du Yun called it their ghost fleet. 2 minutes to strike position, HARU said from the ship's computer. The AI had been upgraded over the years, but still kept the same calm voice. Tai-Ho looked at the faces of his strike team. 8 men and women in battle suits, weapons ready. Their eyes showed fear, but their hands were steady. Remember the plan, he said. We hit fast. We take what we need. We free any prisoners, and we leave nothing for the Kravath to use again. They nodded. Some touched the small pieces of earth rock they wore around their necks, a reminder of what they had lost, a reminder of why they fought. 1 minute, HARU announced. Tai-Ho closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of the blue planet that no longer existed, of all the lives lost. Then he opened his eyes. Start engines, he ordered. Full attack speed. 21 ships suddenly lit up the darkness of space. They streaked toward the mining base like shooting stars. The Kravath had only seconds to react. Alarms blared. Defense guns turned, but they were too slow. Han Jum's new weapon worked perfectly. The blue pulse shot from Tai-Ho's ship, hitting the base's shield. The shield flickered and died. It worked. Someone shouted, "The shield is down." Tai-Ho allowed himself a small smile. All ships, attack as planned. The human fleet split into 3 groups. One attacked the patrol ships, one targeted the defense guns, and Tai-Ho's group headed for the main entrance. Their ship landed with a crunch on the icy surface. The team rushed out, weapons ready. 2 Kravath guards appeared at the entrance. They were tall beings with hard, rocky skin that reflected the light. Their 4 arms each held a weapon. But the guards weren't ready for humans who had nothing left to lose. Du Yun fired first, hitting one guard in the center of his body. It fell with a heavy thud. The second guard turned to run, but Tai-Ho's shot caught it from behind. Move in, Tai-Ho ordered. Inside, the base was a maze of metal halls and strange machines. The air smelled wrong, too dry, with a hint of something like sulfur. It was built for the Kravath, not for humans. They fought their way deeper into the base. The Kravath fought back, but they seemed surprised, unprepared. Many fled rather than stand their ground. They didn't expect us to attack, Du Yun said as they moved forward. They thought we were beaten. In the control room, they found what they were looking for. A Kravath officer, larger than the others, with markings on its stone-like skin. Take it alive, Tai-Ho ordered. The team surrounded the alien. It reached for a weapon, but Du Yun knocked it away. You speak our language, Tai-Ho said. It wasn't a question. They knew the Kravath had studied humans before attacking Earth. The alien's eyes glowed red. Humans, it said, the words sounding like rocks grinding together. You should be extinct. Yet here we are, Tai-Ho replied. And we have questions for you. While Tai-Ho's team secured the prisoner, Han Jun led another group to the storage areas. They found metals, fuel, and equipment, all valuable to the resistance. But in a lower level, they found something else. Something worse. "Leader," Han Jun called over the radio. His voice shook. "You need to see this." Tai Ho and Du Yun went down to the lower level. There, in cold, clear tubes, floated human bodies, some still alive, connected to machines. "They're experimenting on them," Han Jun said quietly. "And look what they're doing to Earth's remains." A screen on the wall showed images of the broken pieces of Earth. Cravath ships surrounded them, drilling deep into the dead planet's core. Among the prisoners, they found a woman barely conscious but still alive. Her name tag read, Dr. Ji-hyun Ryu, Xenobiology Division. "Get them all out," Tai Ho ordered, his voice hard as steel. "We're taking them home." As they carried the survivors to their ships, Du Yun looked at Tai Ho. "This isn't just about survival anymore, is it?" Tai Ho watched as the last human was loaded onto a ship. "No," he said. "Now it's about justice." Tai Ho ran through the final hallway, the sounds of battle fading behind him. Du Yun's last stand gave him the time he needed. The weight of her sacrifice pushed him forward. The central chamber doors loomed ahead. 2 Cravath guards stood watch. They saw him coming and raised their weapons. Tai Ho fired Du Yun's weapon without slowing down. The first guard fell. The second fired back, the shot grazing Tai Ho's shoulder. He ignored the pain and fired again. The second guard dropped. At the doors, Tai Ho paused to catch his breath. He placed the final Earthlight device on the wall beside the entrance. Then he pressed the button on his wrist communicator. "All devices in position," he said. Ji-hyun's voice came back, breaking up with static. "Ready to activate on your command." Tai Ho checked his weapon. This was the moment everything had led to. The chance to face the being who had ordered Earth's destruction. "Activate now," he ordered. Across the ship, all 5 Earthlight devices turned on at once. They glowed blue, then pulsed with energy. The effect was immediate. The lights in the hallway flickered. From somewhere deep in the ship came a low, grinding sound, like gears failing. Through the door, Tai Ho heard crashes and shouts of confusion. The Earthlight radiation was working, disrupting the Cravath's neural systems. He pushed open the doors and stepped inside. The central chamber was huge, with a high ceiling and windows that showed Saturn's rings outside. Cravath officers stumbled around, their movements jerky and uncoordinated. Some had fallen to the floor. The Earthlight was affecting them, just as Ji-hyun had predicted. At the center of the room stood a raised platform. On it was a large chair, a throne, and in that throne sat a figure. Tai Ho raised his weapon and moved closer. He expected to see a larger Cravath, perhaps with special markings or armor. What he saw instead froze him in place. The Emperor was human. A man sat on the throne, watching Tai Ho with calm eyes. He wore a black uniform with strange symbols. Parts of his body, an arm, half his face, had been replaced with Cravath technology. But he was unmistakably human. "Commander Kim," the man said, "I've been expecting someone like you." Tai Ho's mind raced. How did this man know his name? How was a human the leader of the Cravath? "Who are you?" Tai Ho demanded, keeping his weapon aimed at the man's chest. The man smiled. It looked wrong on his half-mechanical face. "You don't recognize me. I suppose it has been 5 years." He stood slowly. "I am Sung Min Kang, former head of Earth's United Defense Council." The name hit Tai Ho like a physical blow. Kang had been one of Earth's most powerful leaders. He was supposed to have died when the Cravath first attacked. "That's impossible," Tai Ho said. "Kang died with Earth." "No," Sung Min replied. "I was taken before the final attack. The Cravath wanted to understand human leadership. They chose me as their sample. And now you lead them." Tai Ho's finger tightened on the trigger. "You're a traitor." Sung Min shook his head. "I am a savior. Let me show you why." He pressed a button on his throne. A large screen appeared in the air between them. It showed images, terrible images, planets burning, species fighting wars across the stars, and at the center of it all, humans. This is what the Cravath showed me, Sung Min said. The future that would have happened if Earth continued on its path. Our species would have spread across the galaxy, bringing war and destruction wherever we went. The images change, showing humans fighting aliens, conquering worlds, building weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Billions would have died, Sung Min continued. Not just aliens but humans too, in endless wars. The Cravath offered a different path. Sacrifice one world, Earth, to save countless others. Taiho's hand shook. You believed them. You helped them kill our planet. I made the hard choice, Sung Min said. The only choice that prevented a worse future. That wasn't your choice to make. Taiho shouted. You decided for billions of people that they should die. Yes, Sung Min replied simply. And I would do it again. Without hesitation, Taiho activated the Earthlight device on his belt. It pulsed stronger than the others, designed to be used at close range. Sung Min gasped as the radiation hit him. The Cravath parts of his body began to spark and fail. You don't understand, Sung Min said, his voice breaking up as his mechanical parts failed. I saved the galaxy. No, Taiho replied. You betrayed humanity. And we will take back what's ours. As Sung Min fell to his knees, Taiho stepped forward. He didn't kill the man. Instead, he took something from around Sung Min's neck, a small device that glowed with a red light. 3 months after the battle at Saturn, humanity was on the move. What had started as a small victory had grown into something no one thought possible, a real chance to fight back against the Cravath. Han Jun stood in his workshop at New Seoul, watching as workers built Earth-like missiles. The missiles were his design, larger versions of the devices that had won them their first major victory. Now they had over 500, with more being made every day. Production is up 20% this week, said a voice behind him. Han Jun turned to see Ji Hyun entering the workshop. The former prisoner had recovered her strength and now led the scientific team developing new weapons against the Cravath. Good, Han Jun said. We'll need everyone we can make for the Mars attack. Mars had been the first planet the Cravath took after destroying Earth. They had built their main base there, a massive fortress from which they controlled the inner solar system. Now it was humanity's next target. In the command center, Taiho studied maps of Mars. Since the victory at Saturn, people had started calling him the Vengeance of Earth. He didn't like the name, but he understood why they needed heroes to believe in. The attack plan is ready, said a young officer named Won Bin. He had taken over many of Du Yun's duties after her death. 3 assault groups will hit the main Cravath base. 2 diversionary attacks will draw away their defenses. Taiho nodded. In the months since their victory, the human fleet had grown. Ships that had been hiding in the outer solar system came to join them. Some had been as far out as Pluto, waiting and watching for 5 long years. What about our new allies? Taiho asked. That was the strangest development of all. After the battle at Saturn, a group of Cravath had contacted them. These Cravath were part of a small rebel faction within their own empire. They had disagreed with the decision to destroy Earth, but had been powerless to stop it. They're ready, Won Bin replied. Their ships will join us at the staging point. The attack began 2 days later. The human fleet, now over 300 ships strong, approached Mars from multiple directions. The red planet looked peaceful from space, but everyone knew what waited on its surface. Thousands of Cravath soldiers and their powerful weapons. The battle was fierce. Cravath ships rose to meet them, but the Earth-like missiles did their work. Wherever they struck, Cravath ships lost power and control. Taiho led the main assault group. His ship, now named Du Yun's Promise, pushed through the Cravath defenses. On the command deck, he watched as human ships fired again and again at the Cravath base. We're breaking through, someone shouted. The moment of victory came 6 hours into the battle. The main Cravath shield generators failed. Human ships landed on the surface. Soldiers poured out, fighting their way into the base. Taiho was among them, leading from the front as he always did. Inside the base, they found something no one expected. A massive room filled with ancient-looking artifacts. At the center stood a strange device that pulsed with dark energy. "What is this?" Taiho asked a captured Cravath officer. The alien seemed different from others they had fought. It wore markings that identified it as part of the rebel faction. "It is why we contacted you," the Cravath said, its voice less harsh than others of its kind. "This is not Cravath technology. It is from the Void Architects." "The who?" Taiho asked. The Cravath explained in halting words. The Void Architects were an ancient species that moved between galaxies. They manipulated younger races, pushing them into conflicts to prevent any from growing too powerful. "They found us centuries ago," the Cravath said. "Showed us visions of humans destroying our worlds, just as they showed your leader visions of humans destroying the galaxy." Taiho thought of Sung Min, the human traitor. "They lied to both of us." "Yes," the Cravath agreed. "They create fear between species, keep us fighting each other instead of them." Ji Hyun, who had joined the ground forces as a scientific advisor, studied the strange device. "This technology is far beyond the Cravath, or us," she said. "It seems to be some kind of communication array." As they explored further, they found more evidence of the Void Architects' manipulation. Records showing how they had pushed the Cravath to attack Earth. Plans for other conflicts between different species across multiple star systems. "They're still out there," the Cravath rebel said. "Watching. Waiting. They will not allow our alliance to stand." Taiho looked at the humans and Cravath rebels working together to understand the alien technology. Former enemies now united against a greater threat. "Let them come," he said. "We're ready to fight for our right to exist." 5 years had passed since Earth died. 5 years of running, hiding, and slowly growing stronger. Taiho Kim was no longer just a commander. Now, men and women from a dozen different countries called him leader. The title felt heavy on his shoulders as he walked through the hidden base carved into a large asteroid. They had named it New Seoul. "Sir, the new ships are ready for your inspection," said Major Du Yun Park, walking beside him. Her black uniform was clean but worn at the edges. Like everyone else, she made things last. Du Yun had been a junior officer when the Cravath attacked. Now she was Taiho's right hand and the best fighter pilot among the survivors. She had lost her husband and 2 children on Earth. That pain showed in her eyes, but never in her work. "How many ships now?" Taiho asked. 123 combat-ready vessels," she replied, "plus the 57 we have out on patrol." It wasn't much against the massive Cravath fleet, but it was better than nothing. Better than 5 years ago, when they had only broken escape pods and stolen supply ships. They entered a large room cut from the rock. Maps and screens covered the walls. Around a metal table stood the leaders of the human resistance. They came from different countries, spoke different languages, but they all shared the same goal: survival first, then revenge. "Our scouts have found something," said Han Junli. He was a thin man with quick hands and a quicker mind. Once, he had designed buildings on Earth. Now he built weapons. Han Jun tapped a screen. An image appeared of a moon orbiting Jupiter, Europa. On its icy surface sat a Cravath mining base. "They're digging deep," Han Jun explained. "Looking for metals, we think, but they've made a mistake." He smiled for the first time in weeks. "They've left it lightly guarded." The room grew quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. "How sure are you?" Taiho asked. "Very sure," Han Jun said. "We've watched for 3 weeks. They have only 2 patrol ships and basic ground defenses." Taiho looked at the faces around the table. Some showed hope, others worry. All showed tiredness, the kind that came from years of just staying alive. "It's time," Tai-ho said finally. Time to stop simply surviving. Time to start fighting back. Do-Yun stepped forward. I've been working on this plan for months. She touched the table, and it lit up to show battle positions. We hit them fast. We hit them hard. We take what we need and destroy the rest. And if they call for help, asked an older woman who had once been a teacher on Earth. By the time help arrives, we'll be gone, Do-Yun replied. But more importantly, we'll have shown them something they don't expect. What's that? Someone asked. Tai-ho answered before Do-Yun could. That humanity isn't dead. That we are still here. And that we are coming for them. The room filled with quiet nods. For many, this would be the first real fight since Earth fell. The first chance to strike back. We've named it Operation Phoenix, Do-Yun said, after the bird that rises from ashes. Tai-ho walked to a small window cut into the rock. Outside, the endless black of space stared back. Somewhere out there, pieces of Earth still floated lifeless rocks where a living world had once been. 3 days to prepare, he said. We launch on the 4th. As the meeting ended and people filed out, Han-Jun stayed behind. He walked up to Tai-ho, his steps slow. I've been working on something else, he said quietly. Something that might change everything. From his pocket, Han-Jun pulled a small device. It glowed with a blue light. I studied the Cravath technology we've salvaged, he explained. I think I've found a way to break through their shields. Tai-ho took the device, feeling its slight weight in his palm. If it works, Han-Jun didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. If it worked, they might have a real chance, not just to strike one mining base, but to truly hurt the empire that had destroyed their home. Test it, Tai-ho ordered, and tell no one else until we're sure. Han-Jun nodded and left. Alone, Tai-ho looked again at the stars. For the first time in 5 years, he felt something new stirring inside him. Hope. The Cravath flagship hung in space near Saturn's rings. It was massive, at least 5 times larger than the biggest human ship. Its dark hull seemed to swallow the light from the distant sun. Tai-ho, Do-Yun, and 3 other resistance fighters floated silently toward it in a small cargo pod. They wore stolen Cravath worker suits, bulky things that hid their human shapes. The pod itself was Cravath-made, taken during the Europa raid. Remember, Tai-ho said through his suit radio, we placed the Earthlight devices at these 5 points. He held up a small screen showing a map of the ship. Then we head to the central chamber where the Emperor will be. Do-Yun checked her weapon, a compact laser rifle hidden inside a tool case. And if the Emperor isn't there, then we still hurt them, Tai-ho replied. The devices alone will disable many of their systems. The cargo pod docked with the flagship. No alarm sounded. The first part of their plan had worked. They were expected. The Cravath believed they were receiving supplies from one of their mining ships. A door opened. The 5 humans stepped into the Cravath ship, trying to move the way the rocky aliens did, stiff, with short steps. The inside of the ship was strange to human eyes. The halls were tall and wide, with strange writing on the walls. The air felt thick and smelled of sulfur. Lights pulsed in patterns that made no sense to humans. In Tai-ho's ear, Ji-Hyun's voice came through a hidden earpiece. She was back on their ship, guiding them through the Cravath vessel using stolen ship plans. Turn left at the next junction, she said. The first device should be placed near their power core. They moved through the ship, passing Cravath workers and soldiers. None gave them more than a quick glance. Their disguises were working. At the power core, Han-Jun's voice replaced Ji-Hyun's. Set the device against the main conduit, the one with the red glow. Tai-ho found the spot and carefully placed the first Earthlight device. It was small, about the size of his palm, and glowed with a faint blue light. He pressed a button on it, and the light went out. Now it would stay dark until they activated all devices at once. First one set, he whispered. They moved to the next location. a communication hub. Du Yun placed the second device under a control panel. The third location was harder to reach. They had to pass through a busy area where Kravath soldiers gathered. Taiho felt sweat running down his back inside the bulky suit. If any of the Kravath looked closely, they would notice these workers moved differently. They were halfway across the room when an alarm sounded. "That's not for us," Jai Hyun said quickly in their ears. "It's a shift change alarm. Keep moving." The fourth device was placed near the ship's weapon controls. Only one more to go. The most dangerous location, near the central chamber where the Emperor would be. As they approached the final area, a Kravath officer stopped them. It spoke in the grinding language of their kind. "It's asking for your work order," Jae-hyun translated in their ears. Taiho held up a fake work tablet Han-jun had created. The officer looked at it, then pointed down a different hall than the one they needed. "It's sending you to the wrong section," Jae-hyun said. "You need to get past it somehow." Do-yun stepped forward. With a quick movement, she pretended to trip and fell against the officer. As the Kravath moved to push her away, it got a clear look at her face inside the helmet. "Human," it roared, reaching for an alarm on the wall. The team's weapons came out at once. Taiho fired first, hitting the officer in the chest. But the Kravath's rock-like body absorbed much of the blast. It struck back, hitting one of their team members with enough force to crack his helmet. More Kravath appeared from around the corner. The fight was quick and violent. The humans fired their weapons, but they were outnumbered. "Run," Taiho ordered, "to the central chamber." They fought their way forward, but at a heavy cost. Two of their team fell, their bodies left behind in the metal hallways. As they ran, a Kravath weapon blast caught Du-yun in the side. She stumbled but kept moving. "I'm fine," she gasped when Taiho reached for her. They reached the entrance to the central chamber. Du-yun leaned against the wall, blood seeping through her suit. "I'll hold them off," she said, her face pale but determined. "You place the last device and find the Emperor." "We go together," Taiho insisted. "No," Du-yun pushed him away. "One of us needs to finish this." She pressed her weapon into his hands. "Promise me something." "What?" "Promise that humanity will not just survive." Her eyes burned with fierce light. "Promise we'll take back what's ours. The stars. Our future." Commander Taho Kim floated in his escape pod, eyes fixed on the blue planet before him. Earth, his home, burned. The attack had come without warning. The Kravath ships appeared from nowhere 3 days ago, their black hulls absorbing sunlight like hungry mouths. They brought no messages, made no demands. They simply began to fire. Taiho pressed his hand against the cold viewport glass. From here, Earth looked almost peaceful. The fires spreading across continents appeared as tiny orange dots. The massive holes where Kravath weapons had struck deep into the planet's crust were just dark spots. But he knew better. Billions dead. Cities gone. Oceans boiling. "Commander," said a calm voice from the pod speakers. "Your vital signs indicate extreme stress. I recommend a sedative." "No, HARU," Taiho replied, his voice rough from screaming orders during the evacuation. "I need to stay alert." HARU, Human Adaptive Response Unit, was the AI built into his escape pod. Its female voice was designed to sound soothing, but nothing could soothe him now. "Very well, Commander." Incoming transmission from Earth Defense Network. A screen flickered to life. General Yu's face appeared, half hidden by smoke. Blood ran down his forehead. "Kim," the general said. "Status report." Taiho straightened his back out of habit. "Korean Space Defense Force vessel destroyed, sir. I'm in an escape pod with limited supplies. Current position is 280,000 kilometers from Earth." "You're one of the lucky ones," said General Yu. Behind him, people ran back and forth, some carrying wounded. "Listen carefully. The Kravath have broken through our last defenses. Seoul is gone. New York is gone. Beijing, Moscow, London, all gone. A distant explosion rocked General Yu's command center. The feed cut out for 3 seconds, then returned. We've managed to launch about 15,000 ships, the general continued. Mostly civilian vessels, some military. They're heading for Mars colonies, the asteroid belt, anywhere they can hide. He paused to cough, waving away thick smoke. You are now the highest-ranking officer of the Korean Space Defense Force, still alive. Taiho's stomach twisted. 2 days ago, he had been just a commander of a small patrol ship with a crew of 50. Now he was a leader with no one to lead. Your orders, sir, he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos in his mind. Survive, said General Yu. Find other survivors. Rebuild. And someday, another explosion, closer this time. The general looked over his shoulder, then back at the camera. Someday, make these bastards pay. The feed cut out again. This time, it didn't return. General Yu. General. Taiho shouted at the blank screen. Connection lost, HARU reported. No further transmissions from Earth Defense Network. As if to confirm HARU's words, a new light appeared on Earth's surface, brighter than any before it. The Kravath were using their main weapon, the planet killer. Taiho had seen the classified reports but never believed such a thing could exist. The light grew until he had to shield his eyes. When he looked again, Earth was breaking apart. Massive chunks of the planet drifted away from each other, glowing red-hot at the edges. The sight made no sense to his brain. Planets didn't just break. Yet he was watching his world shatter like glass. No, he whispered. No, no, no. HARU's voice came again, softer now. Commander, I've detected multiple escape pods and ships in nearby space. The closest is approximately 13 kilometers away. Shall I attempt communication? Taiho couldn't take his eyes off what remained of Earth. His parents had been in Seoul, his sister in Busan, his friends scattered across a planet that no longer existed. Commander, HARU prompted again. Other survivors are waiting. What are your orders? Taiho finally turned away from the viewport. He wiped tears from his face with a quick, angry gesture. The time for grief would come later. Now was the time for action. Contact them, he said. Contact them all. In the viewport behind him, the pieces of Earth continued to drift apart, glowing like dying embers in the darkness of space.